plants don't grow without water, and they cave when it's cold. We could go till we're older. Put your head on my shoulder, and let's enjoy the ride.
Hello Crafty friends, it's Caroline, and I'm back today with a Not2Shabby design team project. Whenever you order products from Not2Shabby, Jamie always includes a sweet treat, and that's just a really nice little bonus. This month, I have the privilege of working on the paper collections. This is for the March Paper Subscription. Let's go through them very quickly. The spring tulips, there are 24 double-sided designs, 4 of each design. And we have these beautiful gray with the white polka dots, some really pretty tulips on another polka dot background. The pink, we've got these little rows of florals here of the tulips, a pretty gray stripe, all over tulips in a larger scale. We've got these sweet little tulips here, some really pretty pink. It's like a deep, rich, almost red pink color paper. More tulips with a gray stripe background. This beautiful kind of sunflower orange or like a jonquil yellow. Very pretty. Some really fun cut aparts here. Aren't these great? We've got bouquets of tulips, a single tulip, and a basket of tulips. All over baskets of tulips, and then the patterns just repeat. Aren't they fabulous? And the spring gingham is one of those very versatile collections that you can use with all sorts of papers, all sorts of seasons. But they match perfectly with the spring tulips collection as well. And when you sign up for the paper subscription, you get 2 every month, and they are just really fabulous. Look at these great ginghams. Pinks and greens and peaches and reds. A really pretty gray, some kind of more of a brownish gray. Gonna go more into the yellows, different shades of the greens and the pinks, and they just continue on and repeat. Aren't they fabulous? So I was thinking that we would make some small folios that can be easily placed into bubble mailers and sent out to your loved ones with photos of kids, grandkids, puppies, kittens, whatever you have. So let's go ahead and get started on that. For the base of the folio, we're gonna begin with a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I've got some gray cardstock here. This is a heavier weight, 110-pound cardstock, and you're going to cut it in half on the 8.5-inch side. So we're going to cut it at 4 1/4 right down the middle there. And once we've cut it in half, I'm going to place it in on the 11-inch side, and we're going to score it at 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 6 3/4, 7 1/8, and 10 3/8. And we're going to do that for both. Fold and burnish all of your score marks. And this little flap here is actually going to be a little pocket for us, but we're just going to leave it open for now. So I'm going to fold and burnish the other one. And once we've got both of those prepared, we're going to set those aside and we're going to cut some of our pattern paper. Now for the cover of my folio, I've decided that I want to fussy cut out these images here and place them in an arrangement on the front cover. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm just going to pick out a couple pieces of paper that I would like to use to decorate my folio with. So I found a few pieces of paper that I want to use. Well, actually I want to use all of them, but I narrowed it down to just a few here. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut out my images first. And these are so easy to cut out. There's, lines you can follow. I'm going to go a little closer to the image than the line. that we fussy cut out all of our tulips, I think they look really great. I'm gonna go ahead and set those aside. And I've got 3 pieces of the gingham paper, and I've got 3 pieces of the pattern paper, just an assortment collection of them. So you're gonna cut all of them in the same way. You're gonna cut it at 4 inches and then turn it and cut them at 3 inches. Now on the gingham papers or any of the papers that don't have any direction to it, the non-directional papers, it doesn't matter, what you cut first. You're just going to come in and cut 4, and then you're going to cut it at 3. But for the papers, the pattern papers, if there's a directional print, you want to make sure that you're cutting that at the 4 inches with the top of your direction, so that it's not not like this. Okay, so we want that 4 inches across there. So you want to cut it at 4 inches with the top of your paper still being a full 6 inches wide. Okay, so to cut that, and then we'll turn it so that the top of our paper is at the top of your cutting, whatever you're using to cut with, and you're going to cut that at 3. I hope that makes sense. So we want to make sure that they're directional this way. So the 4 inches is the tall part, the vertical part, the 3 inches is the horizontal part there, okay? So again, I don't want to cut it at 4 like this. I want to turn it so that the top is over on this side. In fact, there's a little bit of, just a tiny bit of the adhesive on that paper there. I'm going to trim that off first. So I'm putting the 4 inches over here. I've got the top of the paper oriented this way, cut it at 4, turn it and cut it at 3. So I've got 2 lengths of ribbon that are 10 inches long each, and this is going to close up like this. The fold part here, that's actually going to be on the front of your folio, so it's going to end up being like this. And so I want my ribbon, I'm going to fold this little flap under, okay? So it's, see the flap is underneath there, I'm folded under like that. And I'm going to place my ribbon coming out just over where that fold is. So here's my fold. I'm going to place the ribbon down here like this. Let me grab some tape. Place some tape right here on the folio. Go ahead and peel off the backing. Center my ribbon right on top of there. Place another piece of tape over the top of it to just encase that there in tape. And I'm going to leave the backing on for now. Now this is going to be folded up like this and like this. So I need another piece of ribbon that's going to come from this side here. And the easiest way I'm going to do this, I'm going to fold this gusset down, lay it over, and this way all I have to do is line it up with the ribbon that's underneath there. So I'm going to get some more tape, place some tape on here, peel off the backing, lay down my ribbon so that it is even with the one below, put some more tape over the top of it, and that's it. And so now we have our folio to where we can tie them together, okay? And they'll be able to close up very nicely like that. All right, so now the next thing that we need to do is start putting on our pattern paper, and then we're gonna be done. It's really fast. So I want my cover, this is gonna be my cover piece here, and I want that to have some of these flowers on here. So I'm thinking if I put the green on the cover, then I can do a little arrangement with some flowers on here. Maybe I might only need one. I can lay my flower basket down here, and that's going to show up very nicely. But I'm thinking I would like a matting, at least on the front cover, something that's going to go behind that pattern paper. And I have this really pretty metallic cardstock. It's a red metallic cardstock, and I think it's just going to look great. I'm going to cut this one to 3 1/8 inch wide by 4 1/8 inch tall. And that's just going to give us a nice little reveal, like a little border all the way around our green piece here. And because red and green are complementary colors, it really makes it pop, and I think it looks nice. And then as I'm looking at the basket, I would like to back it in the red as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down onto the red backing and fussy cut around it just so I can get a nice little border around that. I think it's gonna make it really stand out. So just place some glue on the back of your cutout, stick it down onto a piece of your cardstock. I didn't quite get glue to my edges here, so I'm just gonna touch up a little bit of glue under here. And when I fussy cut, I like to rough cut it first, just so I'm not fighting all of this paper around as I'm fussy cutting. And now I've got a nice little size piece, and I don't move my scissors. My scissors stay in just about the same place. I move the paper, and that gives me a little bit more control as I'm making my cuts. This is not going to be perfect. I'm going to have places that are more narrow and more thick, and it's fine. What it's going to give me is it's going to give me a shadow effect around here. This is also not necessary. You don't have to do it like this. I just thought it would look kind of nice to carry that through. So I'm going to finish cutting this out, and there we have a nice little border around there. Now when I place this on top, it's really going to stand out, and I like that effect there. So I'm going to set this aside. I don't think I want to do that now, but I did want to sort of play around with how it was going to look before I finish that. Let's go ahead and stack these together. I'm going to place the green gingham right on top of this red paper first. And I'm using art glitter glue. You are welcome to use whatever it is you like. If you would prefer to use score tape, if you would prefer to use an ATG gun, I think you could do that. I would caution that when you use the ATG adhesive, I don't think it's quite as strong. It's great for card making. I don't know that I would do it for a folio that had a lot of moving parts, but this is a very simple folio, so I think you'd be okay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and glue down my little front cover here. Just like that. And then all I really need to do at this point is just find the papers that I want to lay out on my back cover and the inside portion. So I'm just going to kind of lay out some papers, see how I like them. I'm peel off this backing. I think I'll do the tulips on the back and maybe this basket of tulips. And then let's flip it over to the inside. And again, I'm finding some pieces of paper that I want to use. Let's see. And now all of these papers are the ones that we're going to use for the other folio. So we've got the, we're going to get the same ones for the other one. I'm going to set those aside. But what I do want to do is I want to pull some of my scraps, my cutoffs. So when I cut these, at 4 inches before cutting them in half, at 3 inches on the 6-inch side that remained, I had these cutoffs here. Well, these are what we're going to use to create our coverings for our gussets here. Before I cut those, actually, let's go ahead and glue down this. This is going to be a little pocket. So I'm just putting a little glue on either side of that flap, and then we're going to press it down. And I didn't want to glue it down first because I wanted this paper to be able to slip underneath there easily. And that way it doesn't catch, when I'm putting things in and out. So go ahead and burnish that down really well. Make sure we got good contact there. That works. And now I need to cut some pieces for these gussets and also to cover this flap. I think I want to do the yellow here on this flap. So I think the yellow is definitely going to be one of the colors I use. It might be all of the colors I use. I'm not sure. Let's put a little glue under here. I missed a spot. There we go. So how I'm going to cut that, because it's hard to cut little tiny little pieces of paper, right? What I'm going to do is the first thing is we're going to cut it to 4 inches. That's going to give us this little 2-inch square that we can use for something else. Let's set that aside. And then it's really hard to make cuts that are really narrow. So if I place this, if I place this in here and I go to make a cut, I've just got this tiny little narrow part, and that's hard to cut. The easiest way to do it is to back it down. So when I place it in, I know that this is 2 inches wide. I need 2 strips for my gussets that are 3/16 of an inch wide. That's going to be for those 1/4 inch wide gussets to cover them. So I don't want it to be a full 1/4 of an inch wide. I want it to be just less than that. That's going to give me the 3/16, right? So I don't have a 1/16 of a mark on my trimmer, and that's a teeny tiny little sliver to cut. But what I can do is I can back it off. So I'm going to back it off to 1/8. So I'm at 1 7/8, and then I'm going to bring it down to 1 3/4. So that's a 1/4 of an inch wide. I want it to be 3/16. So that mark is going to be between the 1 3/4 and the 1 7/8. So I'm going to press it back towards that 1 7/8 mark. So I've got the 3/16 of a bit, and I'm going to drop my blade, and that's going to give me a perfectly sized piece for this narrow little gusset over here. You see that? And that's just going to fit just right in there. So I'm going to do it again. So now I'm basically at just past 1 3/4, which is going to make it, the 1/16 of an inch past 1 3/4. If I bring it down to 3/4 of an inch, that's a 1/16 of an inch. if I bring it down to the 1 5/8, now I've got 3/16 again, and I'm going to go ahead and drop my blade and make my cut. And that's going to be the one that's going to go on this outside part here. I'll be able to place that over that gusset just perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to cut 2 more just like that because we'll have them for the other folio too. So let me go ahead and make those cuts by backing them down. Make my cut, and then I'm going to back it down again, and now that leaves me, I'm at 1 1/4 inch, and make my cut. Now I need to make 4 cuts that are all 1/4 inch wide, and that's to cover the larger gussets here that are 3/8 inch wide. Okay, and in order to do that, again, I'm backing it down. I'm at 1 1/4. I'm going to bring it down to 1 and make my cut, and then I'm going to bring it down to 3/4 inch and make my cut, and 1/2 inch and make my cut. And now I'm left with this piece here that's 1/2 inch wide, and it's going to be really hard for me to make another 1/4 inch cut out of that. So I'm just going to use that for this covering here. So I still need 1 more piece that's 1/4 inch wide out of this gingham pattern. I don't have that same yellow gingham. So I'm just going to cut into another one of these. Going to bring it down to the 4 inches, make my cut. And this time I only need to back it down to 1/4 inch. So I'm going to bring it to the 1 3/4 inch mark, make my cut, and now I've got the other piece that I'm going to need. So you'll end up with 4 pieces that are 1/4 inch wide by 4 inches long, and you'll end up with 4 pieces that are roughly 3/16 inch wide by 4 inches long. They're just a hair under that 1/4 inch mark on your trimmer. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So now we can go ahead and glue those down. I'm going to place some glue on the back side of this 1/2 inch strip to cover my little tuck pocket over here. Going to get another one that is 1/4 inch wide to cover this wider gusset, this 3/8 inch gusset right here. I've got my narrower one that is the, almost 3/16 inch-ish wide, somewhere between the those measurements, and it's going to lay down right here. We're going to turn it over, and then I need another piece that is 1/4 inch wide to go over this wider gusset here next to our front cover. Go ahead and lay that one down, and a narrower piece to cover the outside gusset here that's by this ribbon. And just pull the ribbon back out of your way, kind of hold it down with your hand, and then lay down your pattern paper just over that gusset. Give it a little burnishing. And now the actual construction of our folio is finished, and it's time for us to do some decorating. Now these pieces here, you should have 2 of the narrow pieces and 2 of the wider pieces left on your strips for the next folio. So just set those aside. And so for this one, all I'm really going to do is I'm just going to glue down this little basket. I'm thinking a sentiment would be nice, and I have this stamp set here also from Not2Shabby. I don't know if it's still available, but this was the Love is in the Air stamp set. And I'm thinking the one that says "You are my sunshine" would be really cute to put down here. So let's go ahead and stamp that one out. And I'm just going to stamp it on some white cardstock here and fussy cut around it, just sort of bubble cut around it. I may do a couple little practice stamps. Oh yeah, that looks good. That first stamp is always a little questionable, but once you get going, they look really good. There we go. And now I'm going to cut a couple of these out. And again, I'm moving the paper. I'm not moving my scissors. And I'm just sort of, I don't know, making a little bubble cuts around, like rounded edges around the words. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be just fine. There we go. That's cute. And then let's back that on the red paper too, just to give it some consistency. Put some glue on the back, stick it down, and cut it out. There we go. I like it. I think it looks really cute. Let's go ahead and glue these down. It's easier to glue them down if you open it up. Just place some glue on the back here and figure out where you want it to be. Burnish it down really well. put down my sentiment underneath here, and you can use whatever sentiment you want. You don't have to put one. I just thought it would be kind of neat because I'm treating this as a photo card. I want it to be something that I can mail out and place some photos in for the recipient to receive. So it's kind of like my little card sentiment on the front. And that's it. That is all we have for this sweet little folio. Now you can always put some sort of little tags or other elements in here. And I think I'm actually going to make a few tags to stick in there. You can also come along here and maybe with this little piece here, we could cut this on the diagonal. So just corner to corner, just go ahead and make a cut. And this could easily be glued down as another little pocket or tuck spot here on one of your pages. I actually think I want to do that. I'm going to save that for the other one. Let's get our red out again here. And this isn't quite 2 inches wide because we cut that, we cut a 1/4 inch off, so it's 1 3/4 inch wide. So I'm going to cut this one down to 1 3/4 inch square. Cut it corner to corner here, just like that. And we'll place this one over here for a pocket on this side. Let's do that color. And then on this one, let's do it like that. There we go. So when I glue those down, all I'm going to do is put glue on 2 sides of my little triangle here. Leave the long side without any glue on, and then just place it on there, hold it for a second, give it a little burnishing, just like that. Let's do the same thing over here. Put it down. Go ahead and burnish it. And now you've got some place that you can, tuck your little photos into, or whatever little things you want to give to the person. It's going to just tie up like this to close. And I think the ribbon closure is the right way to go with this, because you could really load it up and the ribbon's going to expand. Your tie is going to expand to hold whatever you put into it. There we go. And I like to trim my edges of my ribbon. And I use a lighter to singe the edges. You don't have to. You can use fray check. You can use a little bit of glue on there. I'm just not patient enough to let the glue dry, so I do the lighter. You don't touch the flame to it. You just get it close enough that it starts sort of coming back. I got a little too close on this one. And if you do that, I recommend just cutting that part off and redoing it, because it got a little burned. So just, getting the flame just close enough to it so that it can touch the edge. And there you go. This is all completed. I think it looks really cute. Let me go ahead and put some pattern paper on the other one, and I'll be right back.
Secondhand, I felt a bit forgotten. Not your plan, but now the days of silence outgrow the fun things we have done. But tell me, do you wanna carry on? Plants don't grow without water, and they cave when it's cold. We could go till we're older. Put your head on my shoulder, and let's enjoy the ride. When we started, our wishes aligned. We were like yin and yang combined. Now the tables have turned. Can we live and unlearn? You tell me. Plants don't grow without water, and they cave when it's cold. We could go till we're older. Put your head on my shoulder, and let's enjoy the ride.
finished the second one. I think it looks really cute. It's definitely got a little different vibe. I used some lighter colors, so I used the lighter side of the prints, you know. And on this one, I backed it with the red paper. On this one, I backed it with some pink shimmer cardstock that I had in my stash. And so it's a much more subtle look to it, but still really fantastic. It has the tie closure on here as well. And then it opens up, and we definitely have room to tuck our photos in or little bits of ephemera if you want to. This would be a great way to also gift ephemera to one of your crafty friends. As I was looking at this, I was thinking it was a great way you could tuck your ephemera in the little pockets, close it up, mail it out, maybe do a happy mail sentiment on here. That would be super cute. I'm thinking that on the backs here, on this one, I don't need any decoration, but on this one, I'm thinking I might go ahead and decorate this. This would also be a great place to write a note to the recipient. And so let me show you what I mean by that. I cut down a piece that's 2.5 by 3.5 here. I'm going to round my corners just to give it a nice little finish. And then this can slip on here. You can glue it down, or you could tuck it in behind these flowers. I think I would just glue it down, and it's a great place for you to write whatever it would be that you would write normally inside of a card. You know, you can let them know who it's from, maybe write the year that it was, you know, the photos are taken. If it is something you're sending out for Happy Mail, you could just, you know, write your little information. Maybe that's where you put your artist trading card spot in there, something like that. I think that would be really cute. So let's go ahead and glue that down, because I do like that idea. And again, it doesn't have to be glued down. I'm just gonna glue it down. I think it's gonna be nice. Nice little place to write something on. And then let's take some of these flowers we fussy cut out and sort of decorate around it. Get some glue under here. There we go. And so now you have a nice little place that you could write your little sentiment to them. I think they turned out great. And we do have some of these scraps here that we can use for our cards. I'm going to be making another project using these papers here coming up in a couple days. And yeah, that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope you liked it. I hope it's something that, you know, you want to try to make. It's certainly easy. I began with 6 sheets of 6x6 cardstock and 1 sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and I was able to make these 2 little folios with it. It's a very economical way to make some folios, that's for sure. I also did have the cutout piece, so there was the 7th sheet of cardstock that I used to be able to fussy cut around these images here. But still, I think it was a really great way to use up the papers. I still have a bunch of paper left, so I can certainly make more. And then, like I said, I've still got some scraps here as well to work with. These little 2x2 squares turned out to be great for making those little tuck corner pockets too. I like them a lot. Now, if you are interested in any of the papers that you've seen here today, I would very much recommend that you hop on over as soon as you can to the Not2Shabby website and make sure that you get yours picked up. The only way to guarantee it is if you subscribe to the paper every month, and then that way you'll be sure to get those. They do sell out quickly, so hop on over. I will have links in the description notes below, and be sure and check out all the other wonderful things on Jamie's website. She has some beautiful products. She just has a great eye for design, and I love everything that she comes up with. All right, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope you're being kind to yourselves, and I hope you are finding some joy in your journey. Thanks so much, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Oh, bless